Good morning. My name is Carla Ries, and I am Secretary of the Board of Trustees here at this fellowship. Today is the first day of Ramadan, the Islamic month of long observation of fasting, prayer, reflection, and a celebration of community. Our youth have been studying our other faiths all year, and it is fitting that they are learning about Islam this month. They will be attending an iftar, which is the evening meal that breaks the day of fasting at Dar al-Farouk on March 28th. This event is open to the public, and anyone who wishes to learn more about Islam and be in solidarity with our neighbors can attend. If you have questions, please contact Maria Bavir for more information. Sufism is a mystic body of religious practice found within Islam, which is characterized by a focus on purification, spirituality, ritualism, asceticism, and esotericism. In honor of our Muslim neighbors and friends, we have included some Sufi wisdom throughout our service this morning, beginning with this poem from Rumi. O moon-faced beloved, the month of Ramadan has arrived. Cover the table and open the path of praise. O fickle busybody, it's time to change your ways. Can you see the one who's selling the halva? How long will it be the halva that you desire? Just a glimpse of the halva maker has made you so sweet, even honey says, I'll put myself beneath your feet like soil. I'll worship at your shrine. Your chick frets within the egg with all your eating and choking. Break out of your shell that your wings may grow. Let yourself fly. The lips of the master are parched from culling the beloved. The sound of your call resounds through the horn of your empty belly. Let nothing be inside you. Be empty. Give your lips to the lips of the reed. When, like the reed, you fill with his breath, then you'll taste sweetness. Sweetness is hidden in the breath that fills the reed. Be like Mary. By that sweet breath, a child grew within her.
Good morning. Good morning. My name's Laura Thompson. I'm the minister here. We got a great team of collaborators working on the service today, helping me with words. Carla V. Ries, Maria Bevere, and Patrick Westcott. Nicole Collins is our director of music ministries. Lark is on piano. We've got a fabulous guest musician today, Naomi Schroeter, and Richard is back on tech. It's a crew. We do all of this work in the ancient, contemporary, and spiritual homelands of the Dakota people. This is a sacred space for us as well. We invite you to bring your burdens here and set them down, to let your spirit find rest here and your soul find lightness in this hour with music and stories surrounded by a beloved community. Welcome to Minnesota Valley UU Fellowship. It is a joy to be together today. If you are visiting for the first time, we do have a visitor form downstairs that you can fill out, and you'll also find a link for that in the Zoom chat or in the YouTube comments. We continue our service this morning with a chalice lighting. This is from Sheikh Abu Sa'id Abir Kir, who referred to himself as nobody, son of nobody, expressed the reality that his life had disappeared into the heart of God. This revered Persian Sufi mystic preceded the great poet Rumi, who some of us are probably more familiar with, by over 200 years, and he followed that same path, which was annihilation in love. Will you please join me for the words for our chalice this morning by reading The Bold. If you are seeking closeness to the beloved,
love everyone,
whether in their presence or absence.
see only their good.
If you want to be as clear and refreshing as the breath of the morning breeze,
Like the sun, have nothing but warmth and light for everyone.
thank you, that's beautiful. Are you leading us?
Yes.
Nicole's going to lead us in a lively opening hymn. That's number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do.
You got
Each week, we set aside a few moments to lift up the joys and the sorrows of those gathered here and online. The ushers have microphones. If you have something to share, you can raise your hand and they'll come around with a microphone for you. If you're on Zoom, you can share in the chat and we'll read it out loud. If you're on YouTube, you can share in the comments and just have that held in community in that space. I do have something before we get to what's here, and this is unsettling news, but Candace Mahalwald, who many of you know is the mother of those cute little twins, was hospitalized this weekend. She's having some kind of a seizure disorder, and they did rule out epilepsy and stroke, but they're not quite sure what's going on yet, so it's still pretty frightening as they continue to try and get to the root of the problem. So please keep her and her family in your thoughts and prayers in this very challenging and uncertain time for them as they figure that out, and hopefully it will resolve. And we will keep you posted as to anything that we can do to lighten the load for their family. I'll make sure that I send a special email if we come up with any plans to support them. So I am going to go see her at the hospital later today, so I will let you know if there's anything that we can do. Yeah, I know it's heavy. Who else has something to share this morning?
Hi, I'm so excited because I'm going to hear her play today, and I just started my choir yesterday, and I'm so excited about all the choirs.
Thank you, Barb. I'm Karen Olson, and I have a joy and an auction plug. Friday night, we had the pleasure of hosting the dinner that we donated to the auction last year. Finally got it together. And as I was getting ready for it, a friend said, wouldn't it be a lot easier just to give the money to the church? And it got me thinking, and I thought, well, yes, of course, it would be a lot easier than, cooking and getting the house ready, et cetera, et cetera. But what I realized is we create so much community when we offer something of ourselves to the rest of the congregation. And we learn so much about each other. So if you can make something or do something, do know that yes, the money is lovely, but the connections we build are just as important.
Thank you.
Just saying that I'm thankful for my partner, Sarah, and my son that has been cuddling on my lap.
Hi, Carla again. And I want to jump on what Karen said. Brian and I did a Venezuelan dinner last summer, and we had such a great time, way better than just handing the money over to the church. I just want to hold up. I've struggled with mental health issues since I was 15, and most of my adult life, obviously, and I am going through a rough patch. In fact, I didn't know if I was going to be able to speak today because I was really close to a panic attack all day yesterday. And I just want to hold up anybody who's going through the similar thing, depression, anxiety, any of these things, that you have a community. I have felt so loved and supported by anyone who's heard about my issues here and in my outer life. But also, I just want to express joy for the medical profession, for those lovely little pills, and for talk therapy that has been a lifesaver and life changer for me. So if you're struggling, don't struggle alone. Reach out. Even if it's to me, we can sit and cry together.
Doug in the back there.
Well, thank you. Is this on? You okay?
Yep.
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that the surgery date is definitely set for Thursday, so I'll be gone for quite a while. But thank you for all of your support. I appreciate it a great deal, and I'll see you hopefully in a month or so.
Hey, my name's Nick. I recently started doing some volunteer work and was assigned a client with dementia, which I don't know a whole lot about, but I started taking this course online to learn more about it. So I feel glad to be doing something more meaningful with my life.
My name is Gail Russell, and my best friend, who I've known for 44 years, is having some heart difficulties and may have to have a stent put in. And I'd just like you to send good thoughts her way. Her name is Billy.
Well, I'll just stand up myself. I'm Candace McClanahan, and I would like to follow up on what you said, because I think many of us have family members and friends who are suffering from this, and sometimes they have a really hard time reaching out. So we have to reach back to them, and I just ask all of you to be very vigilant of that and do so.
Hi, Andrea Anderson here. My mom's having a pacemaker put in on Tuesday, and so if you all could just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Right? Thanks.
Richard, do we have some online?
I want to let you know that my partner Fran celebrated birthday this week. It was one of those really important decade birthdays. I'm not sure if it was the 5th decade or the 6th, or maybe higher. I'm not sure.
Well, you know, Fran, I see you out there. You know, we shouldn't we? Fran, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fran. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Fran, our yogi instructor emeritus now. We're so grateful for everything that you do for the fellowship. Is there anything else? Is there more? Oh, one more, Richard.
We have a message online from Eric Grady. I have a joy of my first week back home after residential care. We went for a hike and had dance competitions. Thanks everyone for your support.
Yay. Just a reminder that it really does take community to help to get through some of the tough things that life throws at us. And so I'm so grateful that we are here to build community, whether that's on Sunday mornings or through Venezuelan dinners or other events that we have. It really makes a difference to people to have community. So, and we lift all of this up along with the joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts today, and will you please join in our sung response?
Good morning. I have a story for all ages, and I would like to invite my volunteers forward. We have a pretend desert, we have a pretend river, And we have a pretend wind. If you could please come forward, that'd be lovely. And we have some slides too, I think. This is a story called The Stream, and it's read by me, Maria Bavir.
The cloud is a desert.
Yes, we have a cloud that is a desert, in a desert, which is kind of odd. You hold this. This is our river. And I know you want it to be a desert. Isn't that great? A stream from its course in the far-off mountains, passing through every kind of description of countryside, finally made it to the sands of the desert. Just as it had crossed every other barrier, the stream tried to cross this one, but found that as hard as it tried to cross the desert, nothing, it just evaporated. Every time it tried to hurl itself at the desert sands, it just evaporated, and I don't think it even could get across. However, this desert was convinced that its destiny was to cross the desert, and yet there was just no way. Now, a hidden voice, Sadie, this is you, coming from the desert itself whispered, "The wind crosses the desert. So can the stream." The desert sand is probably trying to teach the river that it could use evaporation science. The stream objected, saying, "Hey, the wind can fly. I can't fly, so I can't get across the desert." And the desert wind answered, "By hurtling yourself in your own accustomed ways, you can't get across the desert. Instead, you either disappear or become a marsh." I like marshes. I think this one is quite, a habitat for turtles sunning themselves on the log, but I don't think that that's what that river stream had in mind. The desert continued, "You must allow the wind to carry you to your destination." The stream feels confused. How could it possibly cross the desert? How could this happen? And I think the wise desert says, "By allowing yourself to be absorbed in the wind." This idea was not acceptable to the stream. After all, it had never been absorbed before, and it did not want to lose its individuality. And once having lost it, how was it to know that it could get its individuality back? "The wind," said the sand, "performs this function. It takes up the water, carries it over the desert, and then lets it fall again." "How can I know this is true?" asked the stream. "It is so. And if you do not believe it, you cannot become more than a quagmire, nothing, or a marsh." I think the stream's still feeling pretty nervous. "Can't I remain the same stream I am?" The wise desert says, "Nope. You cannot remain the same whether you stay here or cross the desert." When it heard this, echoes began to arise in the stream's thoughts. Dimly, it remembered a state in which it, or some part of it, had been held in the arms of the wind before. And the stream raised into the wind, and gently the wind carried it across the desert. Can I have the wind and the stream come across here? Come across the desert. Excellent. They're helping each other. Getting all the way across. finally, you can see after that wind gently carried the stream, letting it fall softly as rain when it reached the top of a mountain many, many miles away, and it became a river.
Just a few announcements this morning. Mahjong is a tile-based game that was developed in the 19th century in China and has spread throughout the world since. A group of players meets here every Monday at 1 p.m. Beginners are welcome. Talk to Nancy Buckman to learn more. Men's group will be meeting next Thursday at 7 p.m. on Zoom to discuss the future of the group and ideas for potential speakers. The Zoom link can be found in the March Unison on our website. John Palanquin is the contact for the group. This time of year is when the nominating committee is busy looking for interested members to fill leadership roles in the fellowship for the next few years. Open positions to be voted on annual meeting in May include positions on the board of trustees, such as chair-elect and members at large, positions on the endowment committee, as well as next year's nominating committee. If you are interested in or even just curious about what some of these positions entail, please reach out to our nominating committee. And if you could stand up, if you're here, Kelly Hughes, Tom Ellinger, Judith Anderson, Patrick Westcott, and myself, we are happy to answer questions. Thank you very much. We are 1 week into our annual pledge drive. If you did not pick up your pledge packet last Sunday, you should have received one in the mail this week.
Actually,
They're being mailed tomorrow. You will receive it this week. You can still pick it up today. MVUUF relies on pledges for 75% of our operating expenses. Your pledges are what will set up the budget for next year, so it's important that we get them in a timely manner, so the Finance Committee and the board can do their work in planning the budget for the coming year. You can turn in your pledges by dropping them off at the stewardship table before or after the service. You can mail them in, or you can complete the pledge form online at our website. Here to tell us why he pledges is Patrick Westcott.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Westcott, and I have been a member of the Minnesota Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship since January 2023. To me, MUUF is a lifeline. It is a joyful space where I can shed my loneliness, and it is a safe space for me as a member of the LGBTQ community. It is a spiritual place where I can contemplate life in all its complexity. Today I speak to you as a member who encourages you to pledge for the upcoming fiscal year that begins in July. Steve Danko spoke to you last week about the current precipitous position of the fellowship, a hand-to-mouth situation. Steve even mentioned the dire possibility of positions being cut. I don't even want to begin to imagine such a scenario. I sing in the choir, and I have only the greatest admiration for our music director, Nicole Collins, and our brilliant resident pianist, Lark Lewis. Can you imagine us without their presence? I say no. What say you? I didn't hear you. No! Good. I have volunteered in the youth programming overseen by the industrious Maria Bavir. Can you imagine us with no child or youth programming? No. Thank you. And where would we be without the sturdy hand of Jeannie Picos, our Administrator and Director of Communications? And most importantly, what about our spiritual leader, Reverend Laura Thompson? Your pledge supports MVUUF in so many ways. That is why the Stewardship Committee encourage you to complete your pledge form as soon as possible. Right now, we have a total of only 9 pledges out of 88. When you pledge, can you please consider increasing the amount you give? A $300 increase per couple would go a long way to close the budget gap. If that's too much for you, would you consider just a bit more next year? I know this place is special to all of us. It is our beloved community. Let's help it to prosper and to grow. If you have any questions, please stop by the stewardship desk before you leave today. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Our offering, our pledges drive the budget. Our offering each week is shared. Some of it goes to our budget, and half of it goes to a community organization. This month, we're sharing our offering with Oasis for Youth, which is a wonderful resource center for at-risk youth just down the street. Will the ushers please come forward, and thank you for your generosity. Our theme for March is transformation. Good morning. I just want to mention what a joy it is to have all these children in the sanctuary today. I love it. It's a fitting theme, transformation, as spring is coming and Brown will soon give way to the slightest hints of green. And by the feel of it, we think we might have an early spring this year. But as Minnesotans, we also know that the literal winds of change could sweep in at any moment and cover everything with a heavy late winter blanket of snow. And that's the thing about transformation and change. Sometimes we have control and agency in the changes happening to us around us, but many times we don't. Sometimes change is not what we want at all. It's not what we expected or planned for, not what we're prepared to handle. Sometimes we're caught off guard. Maybe we even see it coming, dreading it, and yet there's no way to avoid it. Now, I'm not talking about the easy kind of transformation we go through in our lives. I'm talking about some of the most challenging changes that completely disrupt the very identity of who we are, or who we think we are, or who we always thought we would be. So I want to give you one of my favorite metaphors. Maria shared the desert, and I'm going to share a story. I use this metaphor a lot in my pastoral care. So butterflies and moths develop through a process called complete metamorphosis. Insects have two kinds of metamorphosis. Grasshoppers, crickets, dragonflies, and cockroaches have incomplete metamorphosis. The young, sometimes called nymphs, usually look like small adults, but they don't have wings yet. But butterflies, moths, and beetles and bees have complete metamorphosis. The young are called larvae instead of nymphs, and they are very different, indistinguishable between what they will look like as adults. They become a completely new creature. Now, there are 4 stages of metamorphosis with butterflies and moths. There's egg, larva, pupa, and then adult. And eggs are laid on plants by the female butterfly, and these plants will then become food for the hatching caterpillars. Eggs can be laid in the spring or the summer or the fall. This depends on the species, and females lay a lot of eggs so that at least some of them have a chance to survive. Now, the next stage is larva stage, and this is the caterpillar, if the insect is a butterfly or a moth. And the job of the caterpillar is just to eat and eat and eat and eat. Maybe some of you have read that book, The Hungry Caterpillar. Just eat and eat and eat. And the caterpillar grows and splits its skin and sheds it because it's growing so much, about 4 or 5 times. Food eaten at this time is stored and used later as an adult. So you can remember that. Some of it even stores to get it through the adult times. That's how much they eat. So they keep eating and eating and eating, and caterpillars can grow 100 times their size compared to when they were just that little hatched egg. Because they start no bigger than a pinhead, and we've all seen how fat some caterpillars can get. All day long, they take in what they need for now and what they need for later. And then the transition stage begins. The caterpillar has grown as much as it can, and it stops eating, and it becomes a pupa or a chrysalis. Something inside of them tells them you will not survive like this any longer. You cannot survive like this any longer. Your existence depends on change. The caterpillar, driven by this, spins a cocoon of silk around itself, suspended under a branch, hidden in leaves, or buried underground. The pupa is protected inside. This stage can last for a few weeks or months or even longer. Some species have a pupal stage that lasts for 2 years. Now, it may look like nothing is going on from the outside, but big changes are happening inside. Now, those other insects that I mentioned earlier that have incomplete metamorphosis, as they change, they simply molt off their skin and reveal a new self with wings. Ta-da! Underneath, in the last of their moltings, they are revealed in this final version. You can imagine those wings growing safely under their exoskeleton, waiting until they can wait no more than breaking forth in the most glorious revelation of freedom. How wonderful that must feel. The pupa, on the other hand, doesn't have such a glorious feeling of change. It does not simply morph into a butterfly from a caterpillar inside the cocoon, like Superman going through the revolving door and suddenly having a cape. Nope. It completely dissolves. The caterpillar completely dissolves inside of the pupa, completely into a puddle of caterpillar goo. There is nothing that resembles a caterpillar or a butterfly. There is just a puddle of goo. So I ask you, have you ever felt that way? As you're going through changes in your life, right? Big life-forming changes that aren't feeling like suddenly the wings are just busting forth. It's feeling like you've dissolved. Sometimes the changes in our lives call upon us like grasshoppers to use our strength to push the wings beneath outward, and sometimes the changes we face leave us feeling completely dissolved. We cannot even recognize ourselves anymore. We don't even have a sense of who we are, who we were. And I want to pause here and take a breath, because we've all felt the goo, and I know that some of us are in the goo right now. So maybe just take a breath, put your hand over your heart, take a breath. If not for goo that you might be in, I'm sure you know somebody who's feeling that way right now. And we're still here, and we're here with you. Now, in that goo, special cells were present in the larvae that are now growing rapidly. And they will become the wings and the legs and the eyes and the parts of the adult butterfly. Many of the original larvae cells will provide energy for those growing adult cells. Everything that is needed to become a butterfly, it's there. It's right there in the goo, right? There were no extra added ingredients. Everything that it needed to be the caterpillar was there. Everything that it needs to become the butterfly is there. And it's inevitable that you'll change completely in this stage. And it is absolute that you have everything that you need to do so when you're in that stage. And though it seems like the loneliest of conditions that you face alone within your cocoon, it is not without care that you survive. The chrysalis needs shelter from the direct sun and moisture and warmth to survive. And that is what we provide to each other as family, as friends, as neighbors, as a faith community. We can't open the cocoon, right, or speed up the process. I hope we all know that that is a bad thing to do. That will not help. That will end the process completely in life. But we can provide safety and protection where that branch, where those leaves, keeping the cocoon safe. We can create an environment that will ensure that you will come through the process, that you will find and reclaim yourself within that goo and reemerge with new purpose that will take you to far-off places you could have never imagined. And when we are ready, or even, not even close to ready, the process begins again and again, over and over in our lives, right? We're going along happily, munching, munching, munching along. Then everything changes, and we're called to dissolve once again. So some of you that are in the goo right now, and hold fast to this, everything that is you, that will be you, is there too. You're still there. You're not completely lost. You're just in the midst of transformation. Your metamorphosis is in process. Let go of what you were. Let go into the goo. Let yourself be absorbed by that wind. Trust everything you need to reemerge in that process of change that invites you into a new way of being. Trust the goo. Trust the wind. And let all of us be there to protect you while you're going through the change. May it be so, and amen. Our final hymn today, I kind of like to introduce this one with a story. So I worked at Good Samaritan Specialty Care Center, and I was the chaplain with a bunch of people who have Huntington's disease, which is a terrible, horrifying disease that slowly robs people of their lives over the course of 5 or 10 years. And as the chaplain there was also a music therapist, and as I led the chapel service every week, we sang the same songs because their memory and cognitive abilities could be affected by the disease. And a lot of these folks had lost their ability to even speak, and most of them were in wheelchairs because this robs you of your ability to move and speak and all kinds of things. It's a horrible disease. But Pete, who was the music therapist there, every week we ended the chapel service singing This Little Light of Mine, which at first I thought was corny, because, you know, it's a kid song, right? It's a corny kid song. But then I saw the most amazing thing, and that is that Pete would go over to the folks who weren't speaking anymore, and he would give them all the time that they needed, strumming on his guitar, and say, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it. And if he gave them enough time, they would muster out and it mattered. And so the song came to mean something more to me because I think about when I hear it, what is it to let your light shine, even times when you don't feel so shiny. Maybe in times when you're in that goo. Maybe letting your light shine is just getting out a little bit of a groan. Maybe that groan is joyous, and maybe it's just a declaration of not feeling so good that day. Either way, that's what's needed sometimes. So This Little Light of Mine, please join us, hymn number 118. Will you please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice? We extinguish this light, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I want to close with this beautiful blessing today that's from John O'Donohue, who's a great writer of blessings. This is a blessing for a new beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promise that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then, with delight, when you when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will have a new home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. Amen.